I'm not going to give you any of the theories. I think you've heard a lot about that. What I will talk about is lies. In the hotel industry, where I've spent the last 22 years, I have learned that we are really good at this. We are really good at lying. Some people call it tweaking the truth. Some people might say, no, we don't lie. We just tell a little bit of what we should tell people. But actually, in the end of the day, it's all lies. And what happens when you learn to lie, when you're trained in an industry? When you learn to lie, it's very difficult to show sincerity and be professional. Because when one shift ends, another shift starts, and that person might not know the lie that you've told. Which means that when the guest comes back, as we call them, not customers, they don't know what the previous person have said. And it makes us very difficult for us to look sincere and be professional. And consequently of this, employees can feel a lot of insecurity. And very often what happens is that the employees are trying to withhold certain standards, certain rules that has been imposed on them by the management. And when they're trying to keep the rules and the guests are complaining, what happens is they're being banged over the head by the management. I'm sure you all remember Faulty Towers, where the poor Spanish waiter Emmanuel, no matter what he did, he was consistently being banged over his head for doing it wrong. And then the boss would tell the guest that, of course it's right, no problem. It's just the employee. We are very good at that at management in hotel. We are very good at putting the blame on our people, rather than saying it as it is and take responsibility. Because we use the beautiful excuse that working in a hotel, it's not a job, it's a lifestyle. I'm not sure if other industries use this as much as we do, but we use it as the golden excuse for not paying for overtime. We're using it as the golden excuse for people literally not going home, working double shifts, etc., etc. The list is very long. One of the beautiful examples I have that actually comes from Prague, which is my 11th country that I'm working in the hotel industry. Here, people are paid flexible and full-time salaries. So you have your base salary, and then they're adding on top this flexible part that depends on if the manager likes you this month or not. If they're happy with you, you get it. If they're not, you don't get it. And I spend quite a lot of time with a team in my current hotel talking about this because obviously this is not right. People should not be afraid of standing up for who they are. They should be allowed to exist without worrying about if the manager appreciates their comments or not. It shouldn't impact their daily salary. We also like to say we are the people. We are the people industry, which means we don't need anybody like Alexander or Michael, whoever you want, to tell us how to be good managers, to handle people, because we are all about people. Sadly enough, I think we are terrible at managing people because we are very good at taking care of the guests. But when in the process of taking care of the guests, we completely forget the employees. And I'm sure you could apply this to any service-oriented industry, not necessarily only the hospitality hotels. Anybody who deals with customers, client, guests can have, I'm sure, relate to this and have similar experiences. So 4 years ago, I had the beautiful opportunity of becoming in charge of an independent property who was owned by people that knew nothing about hotels, which is where I came in. I was the only one who applied who didn't speak a word of Czech, which was a bit worrying, but I got the job, and it's the beautiful building next door called PARKHOTEL from 1967. And I wanted to test what I have learned about happiness in this hotel and all the things that I thought was wrong about hospitality and how we treat people. So we implemented 4 basic rules. We took away the packs that every single larger hotel chain has. This pack of rules and regulation. When the guest checks in on the front desk, remember to say the guest name 3 times. So Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith. No matter how uncomfortable it is for you, you're going to be rated down if you don't use the guest name 3 times. So we threw all that out and we said we're going to focus on 4 things. and I will talk you through them. The first one is be yourself. Now, we're all wearing uniforms in most hotels, so it can be somewhat difficult to be individual. And on top of that, if you have managers who comes and bangs on the front desk when you're a receptionist looking down and screams, smile, it's very hard to be yourself. You become very plastic, you get more scared than actually happy. I actually didn't learn what be yourself really meant until a couple of months after we implemented this. I was going home a little bit later than normal, and I ran into one of the night receptionists, and he had just had a new haircut. He had shaved off half of his head, and the other hair was nicely hanging down. And maybe I'm a little bit older, but I walked up and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to say to him? I could feel all the corporate hotel in me screaming, this is not okay, this cannot be, he cannot look like that. And his big smile when I approached him, he said, Monika, what do you think of my haircut? I had no clue what I wanted to tell him right then. So the only thing that came to my mind was, what does your girlfriend think? And I got an even bigger smile from him, and he said, she loves it. In that moment, I realized that when we implemented this, I didn't know what we were doing, but I learned then this is what be yourself is. Because when I walked out of that door, and the guest who walked in a little bit later would be greeted by that smile that I had seen, because I didn't tell him what my opinion was, not necessarily my style, but who cares? Who cares what me as the GM think of his hair? It's completely irrelevant. It was about him. He felt good. Now, that is so important to feel good. So Prokop, unfortunately, is no longer at PARKHOTEL, but he's alive and well. But I learned something from him. And I think somebody earlier today mentioned that it's important that we learn and we never know who is teaching us. So he taught me what be yourself really meant. The next one is empathy. And we worked a lot on the differences in between sympathizing and empathizing, understanding, but not just the guest. We have actually worked the most about empathy with our colleagues. So when one of our bartenders had his apartment flooded in 2013 or 14, I don't remember, and he had a wife and a little daughter, and they were immigrants from Egypt. And he was only working as the bartender, she was not. My team came to me and said, we must do something. So we all went together and we collected not just money, but furniture, laid over children cribs because their daughter was 6 months. And I was so proud at that moment because the people that came to me, they understood what empathy really meant. Then we take responsibility. And this is difficult. We are so good at blaming somebody else, especially somebody who's not there. And the higher up you come in the company, or in most hotels, unfortunately it's still very hierarchic. It's good to blame the ones below you. Oh, they're stupid, they don't know what they're doing. And very often it ends up at my desk. So I, of course, also have to take responsibility, because if I implement a rule that the team is working so hard in front of the guest to uphold, it's my responsibility to respect them and to make sure that when I'm standing in front of the guest, it's clear that the employee has done something right. Which is why we always do a check with the people before a senior person are allowed to talk to a guest or a client. We have to check back with the employee what has happened so that we understand and that we can take responsibility and explain and be honest about it. 22 years ago when I started, I was told, you leave your personal issues at home. When you walk in through the employee entrance, you're putting on your smile, and the show begins. This is really hard. 365 days of the year, 24 hours a day, people in the hotel has to leave their personal things at home. This is not possible. So we decided to say, we make it personal. We want the people to be personal. So we took certain measures to make sure that the people could feel that we were personal. If you're not a natural smiler, look people in the eyes and they will feel your sincerity and that you personally care, even if you don't have a plastered smile on your face because maybe you don't feel natural that day. Or if you work in housekeeping and you don't feel well one day and you let your manager know, we implemented a very simple 3 cards, like credit card style, a red, a green, and a yellow. And in the morning meetings, they used to hold up the card how they felt. If I'm a housekeeper and I'm cleaning rooms, and I'm holding up a red card, maybe something is not feeling well today, then my housekeeping manager, without having to ask me what is my business, because maybe I don't want to talk about it, and that is respect, I can have a few more rooms that day. Or if somebody has a red card several days in a row, maybe this is something we need to do. Or as one of our bellboys who had a very difficult situation at home, and he turned to drugs. Not big scale, but small scale, but enough to affect him. Doesn't make him a bad person. He's an amazing person. But he had huge challenges at home. So we supported him. We made it personal. He went to the HR manager's office on a weekly basis and did tests in order for us to show him we are helping you through this. And I'm very proud to say that he is a wonderful member, clean, of our team today and have personal custody of his daughter, which he says and claims that he would never have been able to achieve if it wouldn't have been for the team in PARKHOTEL. A year ago, I got very upset. Very upset. It's not very often. I had a team member who called me, and it was a month when you have a lot of guests who are unhappy. And she explained about this footballer's father. He was standing on the front desk and he was angry, probably a little bit drunk, very angry. He screamed and he shouted and he demanded to see the manager and he was going to scream about us on social media and la la la. And before I went into the hotel to deal with him, together with the team, I went to social media. I went on LinkedIn. And in hindsight, maybe I should have used different language. Maybe I should have written it differently, but I was fed up. So because my post, who I'm not sure if you can read, it says, I was thinking of creating a TripAdvisor for hotels, as I'm sincerely tired of stupid people who scream and behave like they own the world. No guests have the right to try to ruin my team's workday. We are here to help, not for guests to take out their psycho problems. Any hotelier who still thinks the guest is always right, think again. Your team's happiness must come first. Quite bold. I can look back and say, yeah, I could have written it differently. But I had, within 3 hours, a very, very respected friend of mine from the hotel industry calling me and said, Monika, you're crazy. You have to take it down. This is not okay. You're above this. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And within 2 weeks, I had 3,000 shares. LinkedIn, Facebook. And what I liked the most about it, I got over 200 LinkedIn messages from hotel employees all over the world saying, how wonderful with somebody who stands up for us, somebody who dares to say it. And the post down at the bottom was something that actually arrived Monday this week from a guy who used to work in one of the big hotels in Prague, saying that it's great to hear a GM who's candid in their remarks. Good luck in your career. So I felt I'm on to something. Even though all my hotelier friends were sending me snickering marks like, come on, Monika, you're above that. Oh, you crybaby over a guest who's complaining. Oh, this is what I got from management within hotels. But the employees, I'm still in contact with a lady in Indonesia. I'm coaching her via LinkedIn messages and Skype, how she should deal with her team, because she wrote to me and said, I want to be like you. That is the most amazing thing you can probably feel as a person, that somebody says, I want to be the kind of manager you are. Of course, we do fun things in PARKHOTEL as well. We do dancing lessons, we have a running club, we have a badminton group. What's most important with our activities are they are always initiatives from the team. And if there is more than 25% of the team who buys into it, the hotel sponsors the activities. I think the only thing that I've initiated is the Bota shoes from 66, because it goes well with two 60s brands together. I also would like to introduce you to Toby, who is the little dog up in the corner. There's no working there. Toby works in the sales office, and his owner, Sandra, said to me, I feel so relieved that I don't have to worry about how Toby's day is when I'm at work. Or meet our very loyal friend Nelson, who works during the night, and he walks the property with our security team. And Natalie, who spent a long time during the nights, which is now working in my office, so Nelson has kind of moved into my office now. He was given a uniform because he is such a valuable part of the team, even though he's not on the payroll. A hotel is a puzzle, just like any service organization. It's about lots of pieces that comes together and builds a beautiful picture for somebody to enjoy. And every piece is equally as important. Just because you have a title, your part of the puzzle is not bigger than one of the other pieces. They all come together very nicely to create this mosaic. Do you know what scares a hotelier more than anything else? It's really scary. TripAdvisor. Ooh, this is scary. We are not good at IT in the hotel industry. I can barely use this one. So we are not good with social media. And it's somebody can criticize me and my hotel publicly. I better put an automatic reply that is the same everywhere and just let me not talk about it. I love TripAdvisor. Why? Because I can use it to listen to people. What are they really saying? And it's a golden opportunity to praise my team, because TripAdvisor a couple of years ago implemented a function that I have the opportunity to respond. And I'm going to leave you with a little story about a guy who went to a dinner party and where TripAdvisor was discussed, and he said, your name came up because your responses on TripAdvisor are unlike anyone else. Because I say as it is, if we made a mistake, we admit to it. So you can have a lot of fun on TripAdvisor. When I made this presentation on Monday to my team, yes, I prepared, one of my members of the team drew this picture. She said this is how she felt when I did this presentation to them. It's a yellow dress with suns on it. And we then agreed together that we want to leave you with the words that the guest, client, customers, they are not always right. The team's happiness must come first. And the guest will leave you, but your employees will be there tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Monika Hilm. Děkujeme.